And then Mark, if you're ready with Tony, go ahead and share your screen.
Let's go to the homepage first, because that was the first thing I saw. There's a lot of things that I see here that I see everywhere. What just happened? Did this just pop up automatically?
Yep.
That's intrusive. That's not a good idea. You're forcing a registration, but like what ends up happening is there are two ways to do it. You can either force registration or you can invite registration. I think forcing registration is it works when you're a product brand. You know, if I'm into Timberland shoes and I go to Timberland's website and they want me to sign up for a newsletter, I'm likely going to do it because usually like there's a 10% discount coupon they'll send my email or they'll message to my phone, but you're not in that business. So I would sooner like establish some value and invite people to sign up. I obviously, based upon what I had said earlier, struggle with seeing some person who I don't know walking down a sidewalk. So who is that person? Who is this person on a phone looking at plants? It is video, it's B-roll footage that doesn't really, and like then there's this guy walking aimlessly around a house.
I
It's
think this might be Tony.
Well, it's not good, Tony. Like this is you're walking, you're looking, you are not me, you're not the client. Um, this is what we call personal branding, which you've made this all about you. You're now on a phone. Yes, you take phone calls, you walk, you look at beds. This is the story this video is telling. And I think it's a good exercise when you make things like this to actually talk about what you're seeing out loud. And if it starts to sound a little silly out loud, then that's what's happening inside of people's heads. Now, clearly, you're in a beautiful home, you're in a beautiful place. That should be the story of like what I want to see me walking around this property, and I can't see me if you're in the way. Okay. Number two, we as designers need to really think about how color is read on design. And there are issues with the RL. By the way, I love the color. I love the color. But I don't love the color on certain treatments on certain of these slides, that it becomes harder to read. And so you do need to do a little bit of color study to make sure that like your logo, like in that last slide, the logo got completely lost. All identity assets are all part of what we call visual language, telling a story through visuals. Human beings have been doing that since the beginning of time. Before we even had written words, we spoke in imagery. So imagery is really important. Letter forms are important. Readability is important. The final component here is, I don't know how many more ways we can design roof lines and houses into our logos before it just hits that sort of moment of absurdity. But I would love to see the RL liberated from another roof line. I would always do a competitive study to see who else out there is using a roof line. But I think boxed inside of that roof line, it's not working because of the way it's scripted against those really strong geometric angular lines. It's not even a pleasing image. So I like the RL. I think it could live outside of that property and sit on top of the real, like I would just get the identity right. The slogan, real estate, real simple, which now I can't even read the real simple. So it just says real estate here. We make the real estate process stress-free. I think that reads well, but I just don't think that that's a promise you could make anybody. And I think that's where things can go horribly wrong when you offer something that is likely out of your control. And I see this a lot of statements that are made that like are nice statements to make if you could actually keep the promise. FedEx can absolutely positively guarantee my delivery because they can. because they are control the logistics of the whole entire thing. If you can't control the logistics of the entire process, then this is probably not a good differentiator. It doesn't ladder up to a really good brand promise. But I would be interested, Andrew, in clicking on our unique guarantees just to see what's there. All right, problem number one, go back. Continuity is everything. So when this button said, go back to the homepage where we clicked from, you see where it says our unique guarantee? Now go forward, it should say our unique guarantee. You change the copy. That inconsistency does, it has a negative impact, or it has not a positive impact, because people are consciously and subconsciously consuming what you're putting out there. So there is a difference in words between the words on the homepage and this word. Let's scroll down to it and let's see what we're offering here. Okay, bullet point number 2 is the bullet. It's the only bullet. That's your value proposition. You are now offering me a guarantee. People love being able to buy things and purchase things with an air of certainty. You know, when you buy a Tesla, it's going to deliver X for you. You know, if you buy an Apple Watch, it's going to do a Y for you. Having a brand promise is so critical, and it's a big, major articulator of a value proposition. I think you bury the lead. This copy could really be the lead. It's what makes you different. And it's why you can guarantee that then it's like, now I'm interested in what does this guy do that makes, I'm sure he doesn't want to buy back houses. But if he does, what's he doing with the houses that he's buying, and how is that benefiting him? And that's of serious interest. And I think you're burying that lead. And I think all the other copy around it is a waste. I think this is the key. This could be on a homepage. This is part of a story. And I would shape it and write it based upon, it looks like you specialize in a very high-end market. So I think I would just write this slightly differently, using different language to express the same level of offering, because your clientele most likely wants promises and wants guarantees and wants to be sure of certain things, because that's kind of how they're wired. Yeah, this is where design is your friend, but not in this case. Design should tell the reader where to go and what to read in an order in which you want them to read it. There are too many things that are fighting for attention. Our services are fighting for attention with the headline. You see, you're leading with the lead here. Your home sold, guaranteed, or will buy it. So like, you're aware of your value proposition. So kudos to you. But like, this needs to be designed better. So like, there's just too much going on. You've got that background that's like the eye is trying to determine, less is more. Apple, one of the most beautifully designed boxes is just white. So, like, just because you have a lot of brand color doesn't mean you have to present all your brand color and all your brand, which I'm also sensing that there's only 3 brand colors here. This lilac, white, and a blue. I really, really believe in wider color expression. We just did a project for a client. There were maybe 12 primary colors with about 40 additional hues and tones to each color. It's totaling 40 to give them a toolkit of visual expression. Because this becomes very singular and one-dimensional when all I see is the same color used over and over, then testimonials doesn't stand out from these icons. So for everybody who's really paying attention to this, if testimonial is the special moment, which I think testimonials are, in your brand palette, there should be a color that has one job, and that job is to only be used for the special moment. So let's say you had a 4th color, it would only be used to pull out like like the special moment. I would use that color like on a yard sign where I would have like the yard sign and then it would say represented by. That's a special moment, and that would be in that special color. You're driving the eye to one small little detail that you really want them to. It's like a tie clip or a hairpin or just something small, but it's special and it's different from everything else. So in your identities, you need a color dedicated to a job that it just does every once in a while and calls attention. Because if this were in a different color, it would be way more readable. This is not readable against that overlay, and it's not special, and it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a lot that hasn't been said. I mean, like I said earlier, hierarchy is very important. Where do you want the eye to draw to? Knowing that you have maybe a few seconds to really capture attention. And you can do that with the substance, which I think Mark is right. Your home guaranteed or will buy it is, the lead, but there's just so much else going on here that, even if you wanted to keep two or three sections, which is arguably too many, then each one of those sections should be, really thinned out with the one or two messages you want to get across. I mean, we think about this a lot, even marketing our own product, and Mark does too in, selling, I don't know, 1,000-watt services or even this conference coming up. What is the main point you're trying to get across? And even when it comes to a testimonial, for instance, I haven't even read it because it's so overwhelming, but if you were able to narrow down that paragraph into like one sentence or a phrase that really communicates what you're trying to get across, I think it's going to do you a lot of favors in getting conversion. And in this case, conversion is, did they read it? And did they read it long enough to reach out to you? I will say that it looks like the main call to action that you're drawing towards is a phone number to book a discovery meeting. So I like that there is hierarchy there. Um, but could you make the call to action even less intimidating, right? To book a meeting is a big ask if I'm receiving this postcard. But is there something of value you can provide to me if I text a certain number or if I make this phone call that doesn't involve me, carving out an hour of my day and meeting with your team? I think also under our services, I think you have to really ask yourself, are these your new unique differentiators, right? Is this something that, I'm getting from you that I don't get from others? Like for instance, teamwork. I do assume that anyone I hire is going to have good teamwork on their end. So I'm not sure that that drives a lot. But to Mark's point, I really do actually like the color palette. Sure, you can expand it, but I do think that in this format, if you have these three colors working together, they can pop. Just be careful when putting them, in front of busy stock photos or things like that, where they can get lost.
Andrew, those are great. And I will suggest that I like the idea of like the phone number being a nice call, obvious call to action, but a marketer, a good marketer would ask themselves this question. I'm offering a guarantee. Your home's sold, guaranteed, or will buy it. If the call to action is then book a meeting, you've changed the conversation. If the conversation begins with your home sold, guaranteed, or buy it, the call to action is learn more about our guarantee. This is like, I don't want to sound elitist, but like it's in a way it's where it's easy to like, you can always tell when something's been written by AI. You can always tell when something's been designed in Canva. You can always tell when a marketing piece has been put together by a non-marketer because you're breaking marketing rules. Finish what you started. If you're starting this piece with a brand promise, the call to action is learn more about our brand promise. And to Andrew's point, that's all it should be about. This has got everything and the kitchen sink. Also, in terms of color, if you notice how the lilac looks, it works really beautifully on white, and it doesn't work on the blue overlay. So I think color study and experimenting with color and developing rules around where and how you use color and type.
Yeah, I just want to touch on one other thing, and not because it's self-serving to Real Scout, but I think Jimmy would be proud of this as well. There's this postcard here is basically implying that the Zestimate is incorrect, and I think that's a great approach. It's something that Jimmy and Tom Ferry talk a lot about, and I think that here the promise of this postcard is I will, as a real estate professional, shed light on what the true value of your home is, or I'll help you keep track of your home's value, either through scanning this QR code and getting onto Real Scout's home value alerts, or to book a discovery meeting for me. But even then, I agree with keeping that language consistent, like Mark is saying. So under this phone number, it should say, I will help you assess whether or not this estimate is correct for your home, because that's what the purpose of this collateral is. So